Hello and welcome to another episode of 91 Reasons of our Homestuck sub-series as we delve deeper into this amazing webcomic. I'm your co-host, Austin Tucker, and I'm joined by our main host today.
I am the voice of 91 Reasons. I am Jeff Tucker.
I'm Luna.
And what are we going to do today, Austin? Austin is leading this show today. So he is becoming the new voice of Homestuck Reasons. Go ahead.
Well, we got a whole list of stuff. Some of it is Homestuck stuff that's happened in the past few weeks, and some of it is what people on Reddit have wanted us to talk about.
And what's interesting is that you have tried to engage me in Homestuck conversations every day of this week. And what do I keep telling you?
Save it for the podcast.
Save it for the show. It's not worth saying if it's not worth saying on microphone. We want to open it up by saying thanks to everyone who's listening. It's amazing to see the numbers grow. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes and for subscribing. And you can go on our Patreon page, patreon.com. If everyone who listened pledged $1, we could quit our jobs and do Homestuck every day. Is there enough to talk about every day?
Absolutely.
All right, so Austin, you lead us down the Homestuck path this week.
I think first we should talk about our number one requested thing to talk about. We have so many Reddit comments of people telling us to do this and talk about this subject of the fandom that we haven't covered yet. And I am sorry if we haven't mentioned it yet, because it is a pretty large thing. It's actually how most people get into Homestuck. It's through Collab HQ. And Collab HQ is a group of people who voice webcomics, and they have voice acted Homestuck, and they read aloud in the characters' voices, and they have read 75% of the comic through. Like, we're talking 8,000 pages worth of voice acting.
How many hours is that?
It's, oh god.
Have you listened to it?
I listen to sometimes, yes.
To bits and pieces, the best of. I don't know if they've counted up the hours yet. I think they're waiting to catch up. But it's really, oh god.
It's really long because with voice acting, suddenly the chat logs you can quickly skim through or read through thoroughly that take a few minutes, or suddenly with voice acting take 30 minutes, you know? It's a lot more spread out, and it is very time consuming. But the voice acting is amazing.
What prompted these guys to want to create a Homestuck audio version? And it's not authorized, right?
No. It's completely
It's not like
fan-made.
Andrew Hussey's not directing it and going, and go, you're a car cat.
It is completely
It's all
fans.
by the fans.
By the fans. They're not making any money off it.
No.
Do you know the catalyst? Like, why did they start doing it?
I haven't looked much into their history, no. When we joined the fandom, they had already done a good, 40% of the comic.
And it's just guys, do they get together, or does each one record, like, at their far corner of the earth,
Yeah, I
and
think
then
they
somebody
record
assembles
separately
it?
and send it into their editor. They've gotten to the point now where they do all kinds of other non-Homestuck stuff, too.
They voice tons of webcomics now.
Yeah, there was other webcomics. They live stream games, that kind of stuff. They had their own indie game that I think, is it still on Steam Greenlight?
I believe it is.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, they're at where Act 6, Act 4, I think. So, no, at Intermission 3, somewhere around there. They're almost amina-bound.
How do they make money off of it, or do they?
They don't. They're just fans.
I don't
who
think
make
they
it.
do. No, I think they just it doesn't cost them anything. They sit down, record a few voice lines a few times a week.
Do they have YouTube advertisements in some of their non-licensed videos?
They might on some of the non-Homestuck stuff. They might even on Homestuck. Hussey doesn't seem to care about YouTube advertisements as much as other people do.
Now, you guys consider the audio version as almost canon, right? The voices become canon, right?
For Collab HQ, I'm not that fond of all their voices.
And surprisingly, even though everybody gets in the fandom through Collab HQ, when someone first reads a comic, they always gravitate towards Octopimp's videos.
Yeah, even though they might have dedicated 20 hours of their life of watching Collab HQ, they still prefer the other videos. I don't know why.
Octopimp's voices aren't very good compared to HQ.
The Collab HQ voices are good, but they never stick.
And Octopimp is not affiliated with HQ?
No, he's not.
He's on his own.
He's on his own. He's given up on. He was all on his own, then gave up on Homestuck.
How do you give up on Homestuck?
He's done with it.
He one day announced, "I'm leaving." He
And
posted
now-
his final Homestuck video, and now he just does anime.
Now he does anime dubs, and he's actually hired by MTV to record anime ads for Teen Wolf. Like, an ad will open up and it's the anime characters, but Octopimp's dubbed over the voices saying to go watch Teen Wolf on MTV. And he airs these before his Homestuck sorts and makes a lot of money off of it.
Who is Octopimp?
We talked about him before.
We did?
He's a voice actor who does Homestuck videos. He's the most popular one. He does a lot of Tumblr comics. He can voice almost any male character.
Does he do anything legitimate that we would know him from, or is he simply an Uber fan sort of
He's just
thing?
a YouTube guy.
Just a YouTube guy.
He did all Homestuck videos, and now he does anime abridged series.
Now he doesn't like to mention or talk about Homestuck, really.
Do you
Yeah.
prefer Octopimp or the HQ guys?
HQ. I don't like
If I had
Octopimp,
to
but-
pick one, then HQ. Even though some of their voices are a little weird.
So you both pick HQ
Yeah.
over
If we have to
Octopimp.
pick. I mostly have my own voices, I imagine, for the
Octopimp's a
characters.
joke. HQ's actually some understandable voices.
Their Doc Scrats and Dork voices are really
Yeah,
good.
their
What-
Hussey's good. I see people copy their Hussey a
Why
lot.
don't you give us some of your favorite voices that you do, Austin?
Well,
Name a character and then do their voice.
I can't do that very well. I don't know what it'll sound like in the mic.
Doesn't
But
matter.
I don't know. I don't know how to say that. Like, there's a Homestuck cover of How Far We've Come. It goes around Tumblr sometimes. And I don't know who recorded it, but it's the best Homestuck voice acting I've ever heard. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Well, is it like Meryl Streep? What's going on here?
I don't know how to explain
It's
it.
just a song that has every character singing, and they're all pretty good voices.
Yeah? You can't give us a taste?
No.
Since we can't air it on the show?
We can't air it, no.
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
But you've done, like, character voices before. Like, who has the real gravelly voice?
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, that's another voice actor. That's Toby Radiation Fox. That's the canon voice.
Hussey says it's the canon voice. That's a joke.
Toby Radiation Fox is the Hussey-approved
Yes.
canon Homestuck voiceover
Toby
artist.
is on the music team. He's known Hussey since before Homestuck even started. He writes a lot of the main theme music for Homestuck. Him and Powell do the main songs that anyone could recognize.
And he records these ridiculous parody Homestuck
Yeah,
voice
and-
actings. They aren't serious at all.
They're just as bad as he can make them. And Hussey's always just like, yes, the canon voice. There he goes. Perfect.
That's great. So great.
He's voiced Sweep Row, Hella Jeff,
Carcat, Latula.
Latula, John, Dave, Rose. Is it Bowman's girlfriend who does Rose in the video?
Yeah,
I think it is.
Has there been anybody's voice that's come on that you're like, that's nothing like I thought it was going to sound?
I don't agree with a lot of the Octopimp voice acting.
Carcat and Collab HQ is a little weird. I don't know
Yeah,
if he does their Carcat, but he does it like really high pitched and whiny. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Carcat needs a deeper voice.
Octopimp's Equius, I just can't stand it. It's not my Equius voice. I don't imagine him speaking all gravelly like that. I
Yeah,
imagine him
it's-
speaking
Do you
refined.
prefer the
because-
snively voice he almost did?
No, I imagine that he speaks really refined because he's a high blood. He wouldn't like stutter a
Yeah.
lot, you know.
How often do they update these HQ guys?
They try to do an episode every week, but sometimes they're like, we couldn't do one because there's a big thing in the comic that's taken us a while to edit. So they do some of Paradox Space instead.
And
Or-
those are great to
they
me,
did-
actually.
Yeah, I think they finished Problem Sleuth or got as far as they could.
Is Paradox Space canon anymore, or
That's another thing on our list we'll get to after
Okay.
collab.
We can
Okay.
lead into that right now.
We
Why
can
not?
lead- that's a good point to lead
Yeah.
into it. We have a lot of people in the Reddit yelling at us that, no, Paradox Space was never meant to be canon. You guys need to stop picking it
But
apart.
okay,
We went back and looked at the first news post, and it says that Paradox Space was a comic Hussey designed because he knew he wouldn't have time for things in canon. He says it was meant to unravel events that were unseen in the comic and explore doomed
And-
timelines.
and here's how the story goes. They have written at least 50 scripts of Homestuck side stories that are all extremely canon that was Paradox Space was supposed to sew. And they sent them all to Hussey. These are all side stories in the comic that won't be explained. And every one, he said, I'll explain that in the video game.
yeah,
And he's
the
canceled
problem
them.
with Hussey is he won't let any of that stuff through. Just the goofy stuff gets through.
The only one to get through was the Felt story.
The Felt story that was written by Hussey,
Yeah.
so it was okay.
But every Paradox-based comic should be a canon explained odd and end.
But it can't because Hussey doesn't know what he's going to explain before the comic.
So that's
ends.
why every comic is a goofy
That's why we
Doom
get all these
timeline
weird-
with a meteor.
We get a lot of goofy. That could be canon. It could not. It doesn't really matter. It's just something that happened. And then it's almost become a running gag with the team now, like to just mess with canon, just to mess with us,
just to mess with it?
like
Because there are no consequences.
Yeah, the first early on in Paradox Space, they did a comic that showed how Equius lost his horn, which is pretty cool. His broken horn in the comic is never explained. Now, at this point, he's broken his horn in 3 different Paradox Space comics. They're just messing with us.
It's because everybody wants to come up with a story, and then hopefully theirs is the best, right?
Yeah.
This isn't the only promise Paradox Space kind of broke, because at the beginning they said not only will it explain canon odds and ends, but they planned to publish this in volumes, and it was going to be a family-friendly Homestuck storyline.
They gave up on that pretty quickly. It started out family-friendly, and then they just sort of gave up on that.
Yeah, they censored everything.
They still do. All the pages are the same size, so they could print it if they wanted to. But they've done a few GIFs now, and they keep retconning words from old comics, so they're kind of losing their ability to do that.
They're really inappropriate. I mean, if they publish them, they could publish them if they wanted to.
It seems like at some point they brought it to Boom, and Boom said no. So they said, it doesn't matter, we're going to self-publish it, so let's just do whatever.
For those not knowing who Boom is, they publish all of Ryan North's comics.
Boom is a subdivision of Kaboom. They do Adventure Time, Midas Flash,
all
Lumberjanes,
of Hussey and Ryan's walks.
all that stuff. And it was obvious Paradox Space was set up to be a Boom comic, but I'm guessing at some point they turned it down and they've decided to self-publish Paradox Space.
It follows the Boom setup where it's a bunch of short stories with little author notes at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's literally the same format
It's the
of a
same
Boom
format,
comic.
same page size, the author's notes.
Considering Hussey's done art for Boom before and Ryan North writes most of their comics,
they have the in to do it, but
was it intended as an issue that was going to go out? You're saying yes?
It looks like it was. The way they have the pages set up and it all formatted, it's meant to be a printed comic, but they sort of gave up on making it usable and for print.
Could you right-click, save, and then print it out yourself?
I guess
Make your own comic?
There's a couple animated pages. The one with Rose talking to Jasper.
But the holiday activity sheets.
The holiday activity sheets were made to be printed out. And I guess you could print it out, but you got like a wait like a week after the comic comes out because they keep changing things now. So
They retconned a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Without telling us.
What is your general feeling about retcon? Because I'm old school. I want you to tell me the story, and I want that to be the story.
And
what do you think of them constantly going back and going, no, it's different now.
In the comic, it's okay because they have an explanation for it. There's a reason that it's happening to the characters. But Paradox Space, it just gets tiring. Like, these things don't exist anymore, and they keep changing things. They didn't even tell us. Like, we looked back at a comic from a week ago. It now says, to be continued at the end. And it wasn't there before. It used to say the end. And now it says to be continued.
Well, that's the same thing that happened from Back to the Future's theatrical release to its home video release. To be continued was tacked on, and I was shocked because originally it was not supposed to continue. It was a one-off, but of course money begets money, and if it's successful, there must be another one because we need to continue.
But they knew people were going to buy it and rewatch it and then find that at the end as a fun surprise. Paradox Space, almost no one looks back and reads the old stuff.
Why not?
It's
Does it have no rereadability?
There's no rereadability.
And it's really forgotten. I don't see it on Tumblr as much as the
They
actual
hardly
comic.
talk about it on Tumblr. There's hardly any fan art or anything. It's
Reddit
just sort
talked
of
about it more than any other Homestuck community.
When the page comes up, there's a couple hours of Reddit talking about it, and the forums. There's about each page gets like a page and a half on the forums, them talking about it.
So let me ask you about Reddit. Generally, a positive place to learn about Homestuck,
Yes.
or one of those. If you're a new guy, good luck.
I'd say positive.
Positive.
Don't go on as a new guy because it's just full of spoilers. I think for a while Lord English was the sidebar image. But of course, he was also the front page of SPA for a while.
Finish reading
Hussey
the
did
comic,
that.
then go to Reddit. Reddit has a fantastic community. Reddit
It's
and the
in
MSPA
between
forums.
the very serious MSPA forums and the really goofy people on Tumblr. It's a good middle ground.
Good mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say yes. Reddit's got an amazing community.
They're not
they give
bucket phasers and they're not the morons.
Wait. What's a bucket phaser and what's a moron?
Bucket phase are the people on Tumblr who go a little overboard on shipping the characters and don't know any of the canon stuff. They just make it all up, and they're obsessed with buckets.
Well, that seems to be most
and
of the
then
Tumblr fandom. From
the
what I've
morons
seen.
is the canonical name for the MSPA forum users.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hussey Canonical calls them that.
Caliborn takes over the MSPA, and where it says there used to be a link to forums, it now just says morons. And then Karkat at one point says, the other trolls, their planet was named Bepharus. Who named the planet? And ours was named Alternia. Who named these planets? Some moron? And of course, those were all named on the forums. There was a forum submission for the names.
So it's an acknowledgement. It's a term of endearment.
Yeah.
Specifically, Toby named Alternia. So Hussey's specifically calling Toby a moron
Who's
there.
Toby?
Toby Radiation.
Oh,
who
Toby
did the music
Radiation,
and the
okay.
voices.
So the forums are great. Reddit's great. I don't recommend the Tumblr fandom. I bumped into some pretty bad
Yeah.
people there.
Well, Tumblr seems to be the area of the internet where people are. It's like the Wild West.
Yeah,
Like you cross somebody on Tumblr and
Yeah.
they're gunning for
Yeah.
you.
I've had Homestuck fans try and kill me.
Every once in a while, it'll be a good way to spread art or news or theories, but as a whole, it's not a good place to spend 100% of your time.
No, and the spelling is atrocious. Why
Yeah.
is the spelling so bad on Tumblr? Is it because the word Tumblr is misspelled?
I don't
What
know.
is-
It's
what is
internet
the-
culture, cats and pizza and
I get
misspelling.
cats, I get
I-
pizza, but I don't get the misspelling. I get it if you are using the vernacular like the dog is talking, or Ike has cheeseburger, the cat is talking.
Yeah.
But if it's you talking, I respect the English language, and I don't understand why people want to mess with it. Now I get the visual aesthetic of putting the numbers in place of the letters. Like we're doing that with our
Yeah.
series. I get that. That is calculated. But if you're just misspelling every other single word, and especially your and your, I don't get that.
I
don't
see
know.
a lot of text posts that I can't understand what they're trying to say. Like they're trying to say something important, some social justice
They're
post.
trying to speak to
But
me.
I can't read it because the spelling's so misbad. Like if you're trying to send a message out on Tumblr, at least type it right.
Like imagine if Hussey had done Homestuck in Tumblr vernacular.
Oh,
it would be
boy.
unreadable. And let me, on the side note, those Facebook and Tumblr and Instagram posts where somebody writes either backwards or full of numbers,
Letters.
and then they go, if you can read this, you're among the two.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody can read it, okay? Don't make me try to feel
They're
good
all-
about
every time
myself
I-
for 10 seconds.
Every time I see one of those, there's a little Matuna pasted down below.
I don't get it. Why do people keep sending that out?
If there were millions of Homestuck fans out there reading these troll typing, then we can all read those posts,
Where
okay?
everybody can read it.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's designed for some reason that you need to feel good about yourself for a second. Like, I'm special. I can read that post. And it's like, everybody can read it, dude.
That's all of Homestuck. All the characters all the trolls have
Yeah.
quirks.
They have what?
Quirks.
Quirks.
That's what it's called when you have a specific
Oh.
typing style. A
Quirks. What's your favorite quirk?
That's a good
Car Cats
question.
is the easiest to type.
Yeah,
He
that's
just-
easiest
he-
to roleplay
He
with.
just has caps lock on. No. He holds down shift all the time. Sorry.
It's not caps lock. He's shifty look.
Yeah. Caliborn holds down shift all the time, and through some really weird stuff, we found out Andrew Hussey probably does too.
Instead of hitting caps lock?
Yeah, he made a typo where after typing a number, he missed one letter not capitalized. If he had always been in caps lock, it should have been fine. But if the only way for that to have been lowercase is if he let go of shift to hit a number.
Why does it matter what Hussey's typing?
Because there's a whole part of the comic where Caliborn's typing by holding down shift, and in comic Andrew Hussey's yelling at him that he's the dumbest kid ever for doing that.
But he does.
So
so
he
you're
does
saying-
it himself.
So you're saying he does that,
He's-
so he's self-deprecating.
he's joking
yelling-
himself.
Yeah.
And we only know that because of a typo somewhere.
In some, what, like a
In
Twitter post?
Carcat.
Carcat.
Carcat types a number and then one lowercase letter, which means Hussey holds down shift instead of caps lock.
But isn't that indicative of most of the comic that he's using his own foibles,
He's
his own
a
quirks
lot of jokes
to
we don't
further?
get.
Yeah, I mean they're all
Yeah.
they're literally inside jokes,
Yeah.
meaning he's the only one that gets them. There's not even
Yeah.
anybody else inside the joke but him.
Yeah. He's the only one who
Sometimes
gets
Toby
into
Fox
stuff.
is included.
Why is that interesting?
I don't know. There's pages and pages of Wizard E. Herbert stuff, and he says, please don't read it, that's my thing.
Yeah, in the comic, the characters talk about Wizardy Horbot. If you're a new reader and have never read Hussey's Wizardy Horbot thing, and that's most people, these 5 pages of the comic will make no sense to
Austin,
you.
you've never read Wizard E. Herbert.
It didn't make any sense to me. I skipped it. I didn't know what was happening. Like, I don't get it. For 5 pages, Woxy picks up... It literally
Hussey's
took...
writing style works in a little narration with pictures, but when he tries to write a full 200-page novel, it loses coherency at some point.
Seriously, though, on my first read-through, when Woxy picked up the Wizardy Horbot fanfiction and read it, I had no idea it was happening.
It's like Mind Fang's journal. You hit skip a few times, then you come back and realize how important it was.
Like, on my first read through, I didn't know what was happening. Like, what is this weird wizard thing he's reading? It doesn't make any sense. How is this going to be important to the plot?
And then now it is. Just now.
It is important to the plot.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
Wizardy Herbert.
Wizardy Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
And you enjoy this.
Yeah. we talked about it on one of the first few episodes.
Yeah,
it's
we
been
did.
a while.
But it's like that's like an issue, a Lemony Snicket, where a series of unfortunate events is difficult to read because it really is one terrible thing after another. Mm-hmm. It's always cold. It's always wet. Everybody's a jerk. Mm-hmm. And at one point I remember reading where he's like, I'm going to go on for 3 pages on some recipe for some awful dessert. And if you want to skip ahead, if you want to skip ahead, go to page so-and-so where I'll stop talking about it. So I couldn't do it, but it turns out like after a paragraph or two, he starts giving you really amazing information. But he's counting on you being so bored to tears that you'll move forward, and that seems to be what this is.
That's what the Mindfang's journal is. In it, Vriska finds a journal of her ancestors' writing, and it's this long speech that Hussey purposely wrote bad. He wrote it as a spoof of the fandom's fan fiction. And it's just this. It's so hard to read. It's so bad.
So boring,
it's all in.
bad.
It's all in Vriska's quirk, so it's even hard to read.
And it's just awful.
And then you get to the Doc Scratch segment at the end of the act where he's like trying to explain the ancestors to you. And then the explanation doesn't make any sense unless you read the journal.
So it forces you to go and read it.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel like your time is being wasted? Or is it like, no, this is part of the amazing journey?
It's important.
It's important.
Plus, the ancestors' lives mirror the trolls' lives. So if you understand what's happening with the ancestors, you can kind of predict what was going to happen with the trolls.
It goes
on this whole thing about how Terezi's ancestor Mindfang was tricking Marquise Mindfang and Radglare. I don't know. But then it makes sense in the end.
But don't you spend a lot of time prophesizing what's going to happen next based on these avenues of hints and intuition?
Yeah, this is the weird stuff.
How accurate are you, if ever?
Okay, I'm gonna say why now. Luna always comes up with a theory after the updates, before BYB is actually typed out as giant theory post that spreads around Tumblr. You're right every time.
Most of the time. I've been wrong a few times toward the end of the Gigapause. I got a few things wrong.
Well, how are we supposed to predict the end?
Nepeta didn't come back.
Yeah,
I felt big time there. Schrodinger's cat didn't happen.
There was a lot of setup for that, though.
There was.
And Hussey's took such a weird spin. Nothing makes sense
anymore. The Vriska thing was too obvious for anyone to guess.
Yeah, and the whole thing of all 2 years of stuff is inaccurate was a poor writing decision.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, we're during the Gigapause, Hussey released 3 or 4 Sweet Bro comics. We're still picking those apart because those are the secret to the end of the comic. We can figure out what they mean.
And you're talking about literally the dumbest part.
Yes.
The 2 dummies who are a parody made to make fun of somebody.
One of them had a payoff. It showed Hella Jeff fishing in a pond with a net. He accidentally drops his net, and it falls into a clam. In the comic, the girl who's based off spiders, like a spider web, a net, fell in love with the girl who's based off clams. The clam and the net came together.
The clam and the net.
It's symbolic.
Who dropped Sweet Bro or Hella Jeff?
Hella Jeff drops his net into a clam, and the girl based off spider webs and the girl based off clams fell in love.
Who put this together?
That was the Reddit that finally made the connection there. I don't know the user exactly.
Now, give me your reaction when you read that.
I was amazed. Like it actually meant something.
Yeah.
The clam because the clam took
the
net. The net web woman and the clam girl
are in love.
Oh my god.
The next page was this clam smiling really weirdly. We're still waiting for someone to smile like that. We haven't done it yet.
Like the clam.
Yes. And then there was another one where they're doing Sherlock Holmes, and the big plot twist at the end of the mystery was he was looking. So now we're still waiting for someone the big twist at the end of Homestuck to be he was looking. We don't know who was looking at what.
Looking or looking?
Yeah. Lukind. It's Lukind in the comic.
Lukind.
It means looking.
Oh my god.
They do this whole mystery, and the plot twist at the end was Sweet Bro actually was watching Hella Jeff the whole time. He was looking. He knew it from the start.
And that's the twist.
That's the twist. We think it's either something very meta, like someone knew that they've been in a webcomic the whole time. They were already looking at Hussey, or something like Gamzee was hidden somewhere in the first act looking at John the whole time.
All right.
And this is a great way to segue into one of our other topics.
Which one?
The Ultimate Whittle.
The Ultimate Whittle. This is your thing. I'm going to switch seats with you. This is your thing.
Okay.
Is this what you've been talking about all week?
Yes.
The Ultimate Riddle?
I went on a giant rant to you about this, and you said say it for the podcast, so I'm going to say it for the podcast.
All right, everybody,
Here we go.
hang on.
The first part of this, I'm going to acquire a lot of Luna's help because they were the one who thought of this theory and put it together, and I have more to add on to it. The Ultimate Whittle.
Yeah.
And that's mainly, it's actually...
Well, it's pretty much the one some of the fandom admits.
Yeah, some of the fandom admits it. I think we all secretly know
Everyone
it.
secretly knows it, doesn't want to admit it because it'd be such a kind of a cop-out ending, but at the same time, it's in vain with the comic.
It's not a cop-out ending. It's the best you can do, okay? It's the only way to end Homestuck happily, which is what you
Yeah.
talked about in the last one of the last episodes. So, the Ultimate Whittle is the ultimate reward of beating the video game Suburban Homestuck. When you beat the game, not only do you get a new universe as far as we can tell, but you get to know the ultimate whittle of all of existence in life. Now, no one knows what this means. All we know is that Carcat found it out.
Carcat knows and Clover knows.
They're the only characters in Homestuck that know. Now, we don't know what it is, though. Now,
We don't even know the question.
Carcat, whenever asked about in any of Act 5, quickly puts it aside and acts nervous, saying it's some flowery, poetic stuff that doesn't matter, and it's dumb and useless. Which means it's really important in Homestuck language.
Homestuck means it's super important.
Now, the Ultimate Whittle, so a BYB has convinced everybody that it is a Sweet Boy reference that also relates to real life.
Yeah. He says that it's, we're doing this, bro, we're making this happen. Which is what Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff do as they try to hug each other, and they just morph together. It doesn't work. So he thinks the entire Ultimate Riddle is making this happen. If you truly believe, it doesn't matter what Destiny says, it doesn't matter how your future's planned out, you can make it happen.
But the problem is that isn't the message of Homestuck.
No.
Homestuck is a meta webcomic about webcomics. We've seen Caliborn, what he's done, and now he's puppeteering the kids and controlling them with Homosuck. The plot of Homestuck and the Ultimate Whittle is that you're on a webcomic. That's the Ultimate Whittle. Realizing you're nothing but a fictional character inside this webcomic. And, like, what do you think?
It's hard for me to even understand what you're talking about. You're talking about, basically, in real life terms, the Ultimate Riddle is, why am I here?
Yeah. The answer, life, the universe, and everything.
Right. Why? It's 12.
42.
42? Level 42?
Yeah.
That's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But listen, everybody wants to know why they're here. Everybody wants to know what their purpose is. So is that the Ultimate Riddle? Or is Hussey just at the end going to go, yeah, the Ultimate Riddle, he's going to pull something out of Batman Forever?
Yeah. Well, Carcat's known since Act 5.
That's the thing. This
Before the
leads into
comic
my
even
theory.
got launched off into what it's become. Really early on in the comic, Carcat says he already knows it.
And
He
here's the thing.
Not only knows the riddle, he knows the answer. He knows everything.
Carcat said he knows the answer. And this leads into my theory. Well, wait a second. If Carcat knows the Ultimate Whittle, doesn't that mean he knows he's in a webcomic? That's what I think. Carcat knows he's in a webcomic.
If your theory is correct, yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of proof here, so let's get going.
My favorite proof about this whole thing is that if Carcat knows the whole time he's been in a webcomic, then the big plot twist of the end was he was looking.
Right.
Which is the sweeper payoff.
Okay.
And
that's your theory, Luna.
And
he was looking is a reference to the Ultimate Riddle. That's my theory.
A couple of things to point out is that Carcat acts very weird near the end of Act 5, which is pretty much all we get to see him after we saw him all through Hive Bet in Act 5. And after we found out the Ultimate Riddle, all we get to see is a few chats with Jade, and then it cuts off and you get so many pages of the Alpha Kids, and then a little tiny bit on the media, which isn't even canon anymore. You have to remember, when you talk about what Carcat's like in canon, the end of Act 5 chats he had with Jade, which was conveniently cut off when the Homestuck disc broke. It's like Hussey didn't want us to see Carcat at that point. Because the Carcat story arc was broken. The disc to Homestuck was physically broken. Because Homestuck exists as a meta disc in the universe, and it broke. And because it broke, we missed the Carcat segment and had to jump ahead. Why would we jump ahead? There had to be something important. But the thing is, this Carcat segment, what we got to see, was that he was talking with Jade right before the disc broke. And Jade finds the fourth wall, which is a physical fourth wall entity in Homestuck. And if you look inside of it, you see Andrew Hussey. Jade is about to turn this on and see Andrew Hussey and realize what we believe is the ultimate riddle. But before she does, Carcat contacts her, and this is the quote. If you look in there, you will find a truth about life more damaging to the integrity of the universe than a creature that turns imagination into pure void. And this was just discussed on Reddit. That's why I'm talking about this.
That sounds like Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, this is only pages after Hussey rode around on the Never-Ending Story dragon and barfed on bullies.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that, and I'm telling you, it's never... The nothingness destroyed Fantasia. That's the plot of Never-Ending Story.
It's also Lord Inglis, thousands of pages before, he showed up. Lord Inglis is, from what we've seen, destroying the dream bubbles, a creature that turns imagination into pure void.
Lord Inglis is cracking the comic, which is turning Hussey's imagination into just void nothing.
And turning imagination into pure void could also, before to Callie, couldn't it? The fact that he's killing Calliope.
Remember when Lord English cracks the world and we see the reflection in Dave's glasses? And then remember that his glasses in Problem Sleuth are existence.
They're the universe. Now, Carcat is basically saying that if Jade looks in the wall and sees Andrew Hussey, the things he finds out about life is more threatening to the existence of the webcomic of Homestuck than Lord Inglis.
Yeah.
And looking at that quote, you can pretty much already confirm that Carcat knows some serious meta stuff. Okay? He knows more than any other character by that quote. And that quote is so easily unskippable.
Yeah.
And another thing people are going to bring up is why doesn't he mention it again? Well, we don't really see Carcat again.
No.
The disc breaks, like I said, we skip the whole Carcat Jade arc and jump to the Meteor, which isn't canon anymore, and we hardly even see him in the Meteor. He argues with Dave.
We only didn't see the fixed screen. Don't blame Terezi for scratching the disc. Blame Doc Scratch for fixing it. Because there's a thing, one line in the comic where Doc Scratch says he loves playing pranks. And he's never played a prank in the comics, so everyone thinks he's going to get some huge payoff where all the tables are turned, Doc Scratch comes back alive, and he's pulled this giant prank on the comic for years. But really, he's already done it. That payoff was when Hussey beats him up, and he pulls the disc out of his coat and said, "This smug little puppet, he fixed the disc hours ago. We could have been back to the comic so long ago." Because Doc Scratch was pranking us into thinking the disc was broken.
Yeah.
So that we would skip the section that revealed Lord English's weakness and the true ultimate riddle and all that.
That's his prank. He already fixed it, but he wouldn't want us to view the rest of the comic because we would have gone back to Carcat and Jade talking about their meta existence.
Carcat and Jade talking, and then Jade's talk with her denizen, then we'd already know the ultimate riddle, we'd already know probably the answer to the ultimate riddle, and we'd know whatever Lord English's weakness is. Which is the juju. We don't find out, 4,000 more pages after that?
Yeah, because he also tricks us because right after that, we go into the Alpha Kids, 3,000 pages of goofiness introducing new characters.
Yeah, we're just now in Act 6, getting back to the plot.
Yeah, you have to remember all this stuff in the end of Act 5 now, because it's going to be super relevant.
This kills Hussey, and that technically kills plot development for a while.
Literally. It literally kills plot development in the comic.
Yeah.
But what happens when a character discovers the ultimate riddle? If the ultimate riddle is what's the meaning of life, and the answer is here's the meaning of life, then you have two choices. The first is what we talked about before of escaping it, a hostile.
Yeah.
Or the second is Neo, where when Neo finally realizes what the Matrix is, he suddenly has total control over every element there. Which are you hoping for?
Well, the second already happened.
Clover, right?
Caliborn.
Yeah, Caliborn.
We didn't really go God tier. Let's establish that right now. Caliborn did not really go God tier. He's lying about the skeleton key. He did discover the ultimate riddle. Something he knows he's in a webcomic because he's read Homestuck.
And he took over the MSPA server.
And he's taken over the MSPA server and wrote his own Homestuck comic. So, yes, he has discoveries in a webcomic and taken control of the whole system. Even above Andrew Hussey's head. He's gone over his head and is writing his own comic.
So he figured out the ultimate riddle is taking full control.
Yeah.
And Clover, the member of the Felt, back in Act 3, there's a scene where Spade Slick is opening the vault, and he looks back at Clover, and Clover is flipping out like the Weasel King from Palm
Yeah.
Sleuth. And apparently he found out the ultimate riddle at that moment, but it was never explained for a solid
It says,
9,000
What's
pages.
this dude flipping out about? Nothing important. You beat him up anyway.
He says he babbles something about the ultimate riddle, and that's
Yeah.
it. And then 9,000 pages later, John retcons that Midnight Crew moment,
Yeah.
zaps into the comic, Clover looks at it.
Clover looks at John and then starts flipping out. Here
So-
we are, 4.5 years later, finally finding out what he was looking at.
So when Clover saw John retcon the comic, he figured out that he's nothing but a fictional character,
Yeah.
and figured out the ultimate riddle.
Clover's power is he knows the ultimate riddle. That's when he found the answer, I think.
Yeah,
Clover's just supposed to give you the question. That's his deal. He gives out the ultimate riddle.
yeah.
Do you want to find out the ultimate riddle? Do you want it spelled out for you in the comic, or do you want it to be sort of a hazy thing that you get to make? Is it ambiguous? You make your own choices.
I want it to be explained, because I want there to be
Have it literally spelled out like the end of Hitchhikers. You remember how the last book ended?
How did it end?
They went up on a hill and just written out giant on the hill. They said, well, God got tired of us looking for the answer, so he just wrote it down. There it is. And
Right.
they'll go, oh, that makes sense. And then walk
Okay.
off and it ends.
Would that make you happy, though?
I would only be
Because
happy.
look at what happened with Lost. Lost went out of its way to explain nearly every single plot
Yeah.
point, and when it ended, people were still confused, and those that weren't confused were like, "That's it?
Yeah.
That's the explanation?"
Yeah.
It's like when you find out how a magic trick is done, it loses all of its magic. It just becomes, "Oh, I was tricked."
Yeah.
You know, which do you want
Well,
Homestuck to
no.
end?
I want the ultimate riddle to be suds so we can have the giant battle we talked about a few episodes ago, where it would be outside of the comic. And that's the only, just because that's the only
He's
epic
written
way to
himself
end Homestuck.
into such a corner that he can't have a good ending without showing the ultimate riddle. That has to be the big climax. He's ran out of things
Yeah,
to do.
because there's so much
The comics
setup.
become so grand that that's the only place to go.
There's a lot of setup. The finale is going to be a big Lord English boss fight flash, but he said directly he wasn't want to do that. That'd be boring. It's just like Prom Sleuth.
He said that'd be too much like Prom Sleuth. Prom Sleuth was about 50% of the comic was leading up to it all. They're getting out of their offices and they finally meet the big mobster guy. Then he turns into a boss battle and gets a big health bar. He doesn't die for like 900 more pages. Like over 50% of the
It's
comic is
a mega
the boss
battle.
fight.
Yeah.
The final battle is longer than any other part of the comic.
So that's like Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Like the sword fight at the end is longer than anything should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like, just get to it.
So Hussey said he doesn't want a
said
grand
in an
Lord
early
English.
in an early interview on Homestuck, he didn't want to end it like that. The final battle is going to be just one or two big flash pages, and that's it. It's all about the characterization leading up to it that's more important.
Well, that's exactly right. Like, it's one thing to, like, in Independence Day, blow up the White House, and then you blow up all the spaceships. But the most satisfying parts are being reunited with your children, saving your dog, you know. Those are the quiet moments that make even a noisy film like Armageddon so exciting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you have to find, yes, you have spectacle, but it's usually more satisfying the human element part, because
Yeah.
you and I cannot relate to blowing up an asteroid, but we can relate to seeing somebody we haven't seen in a while and all the emotions
The
that
end of
that
Con
brings.
Air.
Exactly. The end of Con Air is
didn't climax on the big battle in the junkyard. It ended on him reuniting with his family.
yeah, you can crash a plane down the Vegas Strip and somehow hit Hard Rock off the Strip. That's not my problem. But yeah, it's all superfluous because it's just noise. We are really waiting for Cameron Poe to get back to his child and to hand her that stupid bunny that we've invested an hour and a half
Yeah.
in getting safely into her arms. Which at the end is what, just a head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hook did it too. The final battle
Yeah.
was okay, but him reuniting with his kids was the
That's
big,
the finale.
Oh right,
big
yeah,
moment.
no. Hook ends on a downer.
Yeah.
Hook ends with Captain Hook standing there without his wig, looking completely like a fossil, and they don't even do him in. The crocodile falls on him and he vanishes, and it's like, it's about his kids. It's about Peter Pan and his children.
Yeah.
I forgot. You know, that's what it is,
Baseball
right?
game.
Because it'd be
You know, if Star Wars had ended with them flying away from the Death Star blowing up, we would have been
Yeah.
excited. But the payoff is Luke gets his medal, and
Yeah.
R2 and 3PO are restored, and Han's now joining the rebellion, and all of the things that send the story off into a new direction are what's exciting, right?
Yeah.
So finding out the ultimate riddle won't be satisfying. It will be what the characters then do with that information.
Imagine if Back to the Future had ended with Doc celebrating in the streets and it just faded to black.
Oh, I know. It'd be,
Yeah.
it'd be terrible. I know, right? We need to see Marty get back to his family.
Yeah.
Even though it could have ended there. Because
Everything made sense.
we-
It was all tidied up.
Marty goes back. Doc's a changed man for having met Marty for the first time in the 50s, blah, 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 blah. But the payoff is Biff waxing the car, George is an author, Lorraine's not a drunk, Dave has a suit not working at Burger King, and Linda has guys calling her. So everybody wins in Back to the Future, but it's important because we've invested time
Yeah.
worrying about their fates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
how Hussey said that this Homestuck, he wanted Homestuck to end.
So at the end of Homestuck, whose story arc will you be most interested in seeing how it turns out?
Carcat.
Carcat, if he doesn't end up dead. I don't know how you make that guy
But
happy.
didn't they kill Carcat
Yeah.
once?
Yeah,
Wasn't he
died-
lying in a pool of blood and you guys were traumatized?
He's died twice in the past year, but that's all been a retcon now. That never
That
happened.
is to happen. That didn't happen.
But when it did happen, you were like
Yeah.
wrecked.
Yes, because Hussey always leaves stuff around. There's always a way to revive him. Carcat fell into lava and was boiled alive. There was no surviving.
Yeah.
0% chance of ever
I
coming
was a bit
back.
baffled by why he did that because
Now we know.
I feel like Carcat has to be the last beta troll to die.
Sound Game Over happened where he killed every single character in the comic in such a way they couldn't be revived. Just because he knew, I'm gonna retcon in a while. Let's just make the fans as angry as possible before.
Same with Kanaya. Like, you can't bring Kanaya back.
Yeah.
Well, that's like in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, when word got out that they were going to kill Spock, people were outraged. They were angry, like, you cannot kill Spock. Even though Leonard Nimoy wanted to kill Spock and was okay with it. So they came up with the idea of killing him at the beginning in the Kobayashi Maru simulator. And then by the time we get to the end, the audience has forgotten about that rumor. And when Spock takes off for the engine room, suddenly you realize, oh, they're going to kill him. And they told you at the beginning. You knew going in he was going to die. But you forgot because they tricked you.
Yeah.
So maybe Hussey's got to... I mean, if you're going to steal, you steal from the best.
Homestuck operates on some sort of constants and variables, not as much as other time travel things do, but it does sort of panel-wise. He redraws panels in each timeline. There's almost every alternate timeline, there's a shot of Carcat and Terezi laying dead next to each other, like they died in each other's arms. That's never happened in the canon timeline. We're still afraid that moment's gonna happen.
You're waiting for it.
Yeah. But it's
You're like Anakin when he gets images of Padme dying, and he's like, I must save Padme. But then by saving Padme, he kills Padme. Oh, the irony!
But
no!
I think he's tricking us. I think it's going to be two different characters in that same position.
Yeah, because it doesn't necessarily be the same characters. Class and aspect could work too. It could easily be Dave and Rose, and it's still a Knight player and a Seer player. And
Yeah.
they'd still
you
make-
guys
it'd
have
still
to
work.
you guys have to understand the rule of writing in any form is that if the audience is ahead of you in what's going to happen, you've lost. So
Everybody's guessed Carcat and Terezi are going to die in each other's arms like in the Doom
right,
timeline.
so you have to change it, and like Austin said, make it two different characters in the same pose.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the way you make it. I mean, that's how you
Yeah.
do it.
But now-
That's just good
But
writing.
see, this is what Hussey does. Now you're expecting it to happen to two different characters in the same pose. So it's going to be Carcat and Terezi anyway.
But that's like saying
That's what you do with this
he's
guy.
He's
That's
done
like
it twice.
But that's like when the villain hands you cognac and you're like, I'm not drinking this because I know it's poison. I'm switching with you, but I'm not going to switch with you because I know that you poisoned yours and not mine. So I'm going to drink mine, and you drink it and you drop dead.
yeah.
Right?
Hussey's done that before.
Yeah.
John
well, of
flew-
course he has, because Hussey is one handlebar mustache shy of being a villain in Dudley Do-Right. I'm killing
John-
all your favorite characters.
John's going back to get the ring, the MacGuffin of the comic, and we're all the fans like, it's not gonna be there. The ring's not gonna be there. Why would it be there? It's never that easy. And then we're thinking, what if it is that easy this time? Hussey's tricking us. It really is gonna be there.
No, it can't
John
be that
goes there.
easy.
The ring's gone. The narration
But-
just says, "Wow, it's gone! What a shock!"
But with how full Hussey's been writing in advance lately, what if he wasn't contradicting or contradicting, but just wrote it because that's how the plot's supposed to go? Because the wing can't be there. If the wing was there, then the whole comic would go away.
But
The
no,
wing
because
can't be
There was
there.
no reason. At that point, it wasn't revealed that the ring was gone. So.
But if
It
John
was
had got
a
the
little bit of a
wing,
twist.
he would have found Callie, given it to her, and the comic would be saved. It doesn't make any.
He's had the ring for months and still hasn't given it to her. He gave it to Roxy. She's
Yeah.
gonna drop it somewhere.
Does Roxy know it's important?
Yeah, she knows it can bring the ring is if you wear it, it brings you back to life. Of course, it's also visually completely identical to the ring of Void. There's a ring of life and a ring of Void. The ring of Void turns you invisible. The ring of life brings you back from the dead.
We never see them together.
You're veering quite clearly into Lord of the Rings
Yes.
territory, let me tell you.
That's confirmed when Tavros wants the ring and he says, "My precious."
Oh, give me a break.
I would just like to point out.
Don't you at that point yell, hack, stealing.
I would just like to point out one of the most predictable things of the comic
is
is
for it to
that.
fall in the volcano.
Yes, everybody's
with
fighting.
the ring.
Everybody in the comic is at the volcano area fighting for this wing. It's gonna fall in
Yeah,
there.
come on, that's plagiarism.
They're at the lip of a volcano fighting over the ring, and everyone was just sitting around like, "Oh, it's gonna drop any update now," and it hasn't yet.
Come on, that's Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
man.
It's a
But the
That's
thing
not
is,
even subtle.
That
you got-
wouldn't destroy it.
Well, of course it would. It's Lord of the Rings.
Earlier, a magic 8-ball with the Genesis frog in it fell into the lava, and it was just revealed it's still alive. It just sunk down through the lava to the pit of the earth.
Another
Not the
thing
earth,
from
the
that cut Cockhat Jade Arc that's important again that we missed with Dark Squats.
The denizens at the bottom of the volcano.
The frog.
The
Yeah.
frog. The Genesis frog is the frog that will eventually become the kid's universe when they win the game. She dropped in the volcano in Cascade, but where it came from is when Jade was a kid, the frog teleported in front of her and then died. Well, later in the comic, they get the ectobiology machine. So she she looks at a machine that allows you to look back in time, scan the frog, and then create a new clone of it.
Okay.
So and then that new clone fell into the lava.
That would be very convenient to have.
Yeah.
To save characters from dying. The ultimate 3D printer is what that is.
And we still don't know who put the original frog there. All we know is when Jade was a kid, a frog appeared in front of her and then died, and is now one of the MacGuffins of the comic.
But that's the same kind of stuff in Adventure Time, where Finn keeps losing his arm over and over again.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for the other shoe
Remember
to drop.
remember when Betty mysteriously appeared, and then 3 seasons later, we found out that she mysteriously appeared to appear in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
well,
was
yeah.
weird.
Betty vanished from Ice King's past
Into the future.
into the present.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what?
Mhm.
My head hurts.
Yeah.
My head hurts.
Roxy uses that machine once to take a scarf off Rose, and we haven't seen the scarf disappear, right? We don't even know what Rose it was.
Yeah.
Just at some point, a Rose in some universe lost her scarf.
If you could go back in time and save one person from dying, who would you save?
They're all alive right now.
Luna, who would you save? A real person.
Real
You could
person.
open
Oh, I
up
think
a
you meant a
time
Homestuck
rift
character. Okay.
and save someone.
Oh,
Who would you
God.
save?
I don't know.
I don't
would
know.
you be selfish and save someone you love?
You gotta say
Or
someone
would you-
important to the
Would it be someone
Earth.
important to
You'd have
the
to
world?
say someone important.
Someone who was cut short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would that be?
I don't
know. I can't pick that.
Or along the same lines, you could pull someone who died in the past into the present.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you could pull Einstein from the past
Mm-hmm.
into present day, first he would chastise you for messing with the space-time continuum, interstellar style. But, like, who would you want to pick?
I
Because
don't know.
I just read a book where a guy goes back in time and saves Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that the universe literally starts collapsing on itself because he has changed history. So let's take that out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to unravel the space-time continuum. Who would you go back and say, who needs to see present day in order to facilitate change? Or is it selfish reasons?
I don't
do you
know.
think?
That's a really hard
boy.
question.
That's a philosophical. The reason I ask is your Homestuck characters are faced with this on a daily basis through the machinations
Yeah.
of Andrew Hussey. She had to go back in time and create that clone of that frog, and you're saying it as if it's a throw. Well, she cloned the frog so it could be alive, and I'm saying that she played God for a moment.
Yeah.
And what would you do if you had that
Oh.
power? What
You know-
would you do?
You know this sort of happened in canon, right?
Oh.
John had to go back to bring Vriska and keep her alive.
Yeah, John retconning. He has the ring that can bring anyone back to life, and retcon abilities that allow him to rewrite any section of the comic he wants. He can play God any way he wants.
Ultimate power.
He could literally just warp to Lourdes as a baby, kill him, comic ends.
Or warp to John, takes a bulb away from him, the world never ends. The
John
comic
never played Suburb, and that's it.
The comic never happened. The video game was never put in.
Act 1, John sits around his house, comic ends.
So who's it to be?
Oh God! Right.
You can be selfish. There's in
I don't know.
Philosophical question like this, there's no right answer. You know, but remember, whatever you do, think about who you're bringing. Like, okay, it's easy to say.
What about-
I would bring Abraham Lincoln.
What about
But, you
Walt?
know,
What about Walt Disney?
Walt Disney.
Walt Disney's a good one.
What would Walt Disney do if he suddenly appeared at the end of Main Street? First, he'd be mobbed, and second, would he be ecstatic that the park is still there and still so amazing, or would he be like, what is this Star Wars crap? This isn't us.
No, he'd still DCA. He'd target DCA.
Oh, yeah, you know, you're totally right. He'd walk over and they'd go, oh my God, it's Walt Disney. He'd go, shut it down. Lock the gates, we're starting over. Bulldozers in.
You go. It's just a whole park of tourist shops and non-themed attractions.
Yeah, exactly.
And carnival games.
Carnival
He
games.
hates carnival games.
Yeah.
Because you can lose.
Right, yeah, he didn't want that crap at Disneyland.
Yeah.
You know, his creed was send them home with money so they come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's shake him at the gate and get all the coins and make sure he got every penny.
Yeah.
So Walt Disney,
I'd
huh?
say Walt Disney's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody else? Anybody else of note? You know, I know that you're not into history the way...
I'm not that into history.
Yeah, you're not that into history, right? Steve Jobs?
He's died too recently.
But he was gone at the height of his creativity.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know.
At the height of his creativity.
He needs to leave the mic.
And through no fault of his own. You know? Like, what would you do if you found out, like, the whole eastern seaboard is blanketed in what was supposed to be a massive snowstorm last night? Didn't materialize, except where? Boston. Who lives in Boston?
Everyone.
All the
Andrew
webcomic
Hussey?
artists.
Hussey, Casey Green.
What would you
Bowman,
do if you
Toby,
found out?
IPG.
What would you do if you found out Andrew Hussey had died in the snowstorm?
God.
And he'd left 5 or 6 pages behind, but you don't know if he's going to wrap it up. Would you want it to end on a blank note, or would you want somebody to step in and finish it?
Ryan North would step in and finish
I'd
it.
say Ryan North could do it.
You would pass the mantle to Ryan North.
Probably had most of it told to him. He's probably the go-to guy when Hussey needs to vent off some comic.
Let's hope those guys are in the snowstorm, listening to 91 Reasons. And at that point, Hussey looks over at North, who's chopping celery and raises a knife. Hussey goes, "Don't even think about it, pal."
You don't understand how badly Ryan North wants to write Homestuck.
He would just take it over, right? He would just take it over. Like, if I'm gone, would you keep 91 Reasons, or you just go, well, we did that, and now we're moving on?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just want you to think deeply about the way the comic so callously treats death and so flippantly. That character died 3 times, and now they're back. In the real world, death is one time, and you don't get a do-over. And that's interesting, that if you got a do-over, what would you do with it? So I ask the readers of Reddit, on the thread for this episode, who would you bring back from the dead? And what would you expect their reaction to be? Like I said, if you brought Abraham Lincoln back and deposited him right now, he would be convinced that the world is full of witchcraft. You've got a little box in your hand that can talk to people and watch images from all over the world. You know, the world is a bizarre place. I would bring back Tesla.
Yeah.
You know, we know what Edison did, but what if we brought back Tesla and said, "Hey, dude, what have you got for us?" How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
I'm losing my voice. All right, so on Reddit, we're asking you, who are you on Reddit? Become Imp is going to moderate a thread of who would you bring back from the dead.
And also give us thoughts about the ultimate riddle, what you think it
That was
is.
a good one.
What is the ultimate riddle?
Is it something meta? Is it a will meaning of
Real
life?
life.
You're aware in The Hobbit that Gollum and Bilbo engage in a riddle game.
A riddle game.
A riddle game?
Yeah, that's how Bilbo gets the ring. He defeats Gollum in the riddle game.
The riddle.
What's
game.
the riddle game?
They give riddles to each other.
Ah.
And the riddles are like, it's one of those one where Gollum is like, yeah, I kill kings and destroy mountains, and I do this, this, and this. What am I? And Bilbo can't figure it out, and he's doomed.
What is that? Like greed?
No, he goes, hold on, time. He
time.
needs more
That's a good
time, and
one.
Gollum's like, that's the answer, And then Bilbo gives him one where he's like, a box without hinges, a box with no lid, yet golden treasures inside her hid, and it turns out it's an egg. And Gollum gets it. And then Bilbo defeats him by giving him the ultimate riddle that doesn't have an answer. What's in my pocket?
Oh.
And Gollum's like, I don't know what's in your pocket. He's like, well, that's the riddle. And while Gollum's thinking about it, Bilbo slips away. So maybe the ultimate riddle is something stupid. Maybe it's something innocuous. Maybe it's not this big grand. I mean, we want it to be. Don't we want things to be big and grand?
Well, the joke is that it keeps being big and grand. Anytime the ultimate riddle appears in the comic, it's bolded or as a GIF where it shakes around, like breaking the text.
But look at what Hitchhiker did. They turned it as a goof, and they gave you an answer,
but-
and then they had to spend the rest of the millennium looking for the question.
Cockett, when describing the ultimate riddle, says it's a flowery and poetic, dumb cliché meaning of life that's typical at the end of a video game. It isn't worth
And he's
mowing at.
either right or he's hiding something.
He's most likely hiding something, because it would be a real disappointment if it's just a generic video game
character
ending.
says he's probably hiding something.
Well, look what Rowling did in Harry Potter. When it finally came time for a riddle, the Sphinx gave the riddle we've known forever. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 at night? Like, really? That's like so old. I mean, I get that it's in character, because that's the riddle that the Sphinx gives in. Is it a hippogriff?
That's the Sphinx.
The Sphinx does it in the book, right?
It's in the 4th book.
Yeah,
Not
in the Goblin. It's not in the movie, right?
No.
And you know what else isn't in the movie? Not to digress, but that patch where he runs out and suddenly he's about to fall into the sky.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see that in the movie.
Yeah, that would have been better as a movie. It was
Yeah,
weird in the
because
book.
it takes a few readings to even understand what you're saying, but that's indicative of Harry Potter and of Homestuck, right?
Yeah.
All right, any last words? We're going to sign off for another
What
week.
you think of the ultimate riddle, you know? I think it has a made a meaning. There's so much build up with Cockett knowing this.
We didn't get to anything on our list.
Next week, we're an hour in. I think the ultimate riddle is, what ships does Austin ship when he ships the ships that he ships?
Yeah. Remember the Take On Me episode when we talked about that?
Yes.
Doesn't that lead into the ultimate riddle? Because
Well,
the
yeah,
video of Take On Me?
every character, every living being's ultimate riddle, every sentient living being who is aware of their own thoughts and not just shelter and food and run is, why am I here? Everybody wants to know why we're here.
And Take On Me is about a character from a fictional book coming to life and then going in it.
Every major story character that you like has gone on a journey to figure out, why am I here? Harry Potter does, because he's born into death. His life begins when his parents die. So he sets off on a journey. Why am I here? Luke Skywalker, Simba. I mean, isn't that every major stupid character says, why am I here? Who's my dad? And what am I going to do with my life?
And so far, that's what, as far as we can tell, conformed Clover and Caliborn.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's ironic that when Caliborn figures out that he's in a comic, he draws himself in the Take On Me style.
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that, because that's basic storytelling. There's nothing wrong with going back to the originals, because when you break the norm and try to tell a different story, a lot of times they fail. A lot of times, if it's not done the way we in our brains want it to be done, it does fail. I mean, that's just the nature of drama. You know, there are only a dozen plots, right, with the Shakespeare plot. So,
Shakespeare. I was trying to find a way to chime in. We're gonna end the episode soon, I know, and I want to say something that won't be relevant next week.
Go ahead. It's your
Tomorrow-
show.
Tomorrow, or I guess late tonight if you stay up long enough, is the release of To Be or Not to Be by Ryan North on Steam.
Yes.
Please buy it and support it, so that hopefully Hussey will see that Steam's a good thing to host on, so we'll get Homestuck.
So,
Because Steam games come with trading cards, emoticons, profile backgrounds, and a special
forum.
community forum on Steam. And that'd be great if we can get that for Homestuck.
And this game is written by Ryan North, with drawings by Andrew Hussey and all the Paradox Space authors.
Ryan North got together everyone from Paradox Space, everyone from Adventure Time, and every webcomic artist he knows to do little art for this.
How long has he been working on this game? Do you know?
It was a book. And he wrote about a year and a half, I think.
It was the most successful indie Kickstarter
book. It was
book.
the best indie Kickstarter ever done. It came out as a book early last year, and now he's adapted it into an interactive game. It's pretty much just an audio book, but because it's a choose-your-own-adventure book, there's clickable things, and he's added new Easter eggs and stuff. We'll find out when it comes out.
Now you're gonna buy this tonight or tomorrow.
Tonight or tomorrow, whenever it comes out.
And so next week we'll do a big review on it.
Yeah.
Because I mean you'll probably play through it in a few days.
I'll play through most of it.
Yeah.
It's a choose-your-own-adventure, so it's gonna be a while to.
Hey.
I'll just get a piece of paper and write down all the possible.
I'm gonna buy it too.
I was gonna say, are you both buying it or are you sharing?
I'm gonna buy it because I've made enough money off virtual hats from the video game Team Fortress 2 that I can buy this game.
All right. And what's the percentage that the creators get on Steam? $10 game. How much does Steam get?
I don't know.
Probably 60-40, I imagine.
Yeah, and this is really weird because it's a company dealing with Ryan North and through Steam, and it's got all these guest artists who worked on it. I don't know how he has the pay set up. It's all really weird.
I would imagine if they're a bunch of friends that they just donated their work, or he paid them and whatever. You know, Hussey probably did this for Taco Bell, right?
A lot of you also get the Steam trading cards. You can get for playing the game. For every hour you play the game, you get a card, and you can only get like 5 out of 9 cards most of the time. And you trade to get the rest. You can also buy and sell them on the marketplace. Every time there's a transaction, like 2% goes to the creators and 3% goes to Valve. So they make money every time a card. Every 7-cent card is sold, Ryan North pockets 2 or 3 pennies.
So that can be very lucrative if it turns into a big trading community.
A lot of indie games say as big as their game gets, 1 to 2% of complete revenue is just from trading cards on Steam.
Well, that encourages you to keep playing and collecting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
In any form, whether it's action figures, trading cards, virtual cards, online games, the whole point is to keep you playing, keep you on it, and spending more.
Yeah.
So they all make
If you complete
money.
a card set, you get a badge for your profile that upgrades each time you complete the set. You get emoticons you can chat with your friends, and you get a background for your profile.
I wonder if we'll
Alright.
get Andrew Hussey drawn emoticons.
I hope so. At least the background.
All right, so one other thing for my Reddit listeners. Can you post pictures on Reddit?
You can link to them on Imgur or Photobucket and stuff like that.
Okay, so what we want is somebody to take a picture of Andrew Hussey and using Photoshop, make him into Jay or Shaggy Two Dope from Insane Clown Posse.
Why?
And then label it Insane Clown Hussey. And I want to put that on a shirt and wear it to WonderCon.
Oh my god.
Insane Clown Hussey, man.
That'd be perfect.
That would be awesome, right?
Yes. So, remember, to buy, to be or to not to be. Make that edit, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea.
Post
Give
it
us
up
your
in the middle.
answer on who you'd like to bring
Yes.
back from the past, and give your thoughts on the Ultimate Whittle and what you think
We
about
got a lot for Reddit today.
Yeah, and share the episode. Let your friends know about it. The more subscribers we get, the better our listings on iTunes. At this point, we don't make hardly any money off of 91 Reasons. It is truly a labor of love. We have the Patreon page, which is $100 a month right now, which, I mean, that's virtually nothing when it takes all the effort to put this show together. We're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we really love doing it. Thank you to all the Homestuck listeners around the world. You guys rock. You binge listen to every episode. We are so grateful that you're listening. Thank you, thank you. We'll be at WonderCon this Easter weekend in Anaheim. If you see us, let us know that you listen to 91 Reasons. We have special Homestuck business cards to hand out.
I'll be in full cosplay.
You'll be in full
I
cosplay.
just got my gray arm sleeves.
Yes, yes. And make sure you take a look at Austin before his gray paint flakes off and he becomes just another normal. We'll be playing Spin the Fago and reveling. And this is all, don't worry about having a lot of cash because all the Homestuck activities are outside the convention center. So you don't need a badge to find Luna and Austin, who will be outside most of the time looking for Homestucks, finding a Homestuck base of operations next to the con suite or something. You know, there will be all that. So, and we'll be monitoring.
There's normally a meetup outside the con every year.
We
one
will
of the days.
find the Homestucks, and we will make our presence known, and you guys can have a voice. And if we can get it together, it'd be fun to do an episode that night and meet some of you guys there. So I will bring my pitiful podcasting equipment to try to set up a show where you guys can have a voice. Tell us what you like about the show, what you hate, what you want, what you don't want, what the riddle is, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Any last words of this episode?
Thanks to the Reddit community for making this so big.
WonderCon will be the weekend before the comic comes back.
Yeah.
So you guys will be boiling over with anticipation, right?
Yeah.
Hussy
All right.
has said the next part of the comic's the best part of the entire comic.
I can't wait. Can
gotta
you
all
wait?
No.
All right, the best way to support the show, go on our Patreon page and pledge as little as $1 a month to support the show. Give us a great review on iTunes. That costs nothing. You can check out my books on Amazon.com, The Sixth Key, The Lost Station, and The Infinite Backward, available as either a paperback or as a Kindle download. You can pick up a paperback of those books at WonderCon, signed by me. Yes. That'd be very exciting, wouldn't it? Yeah, not really. But they're great books, and you'll enjoy them. They're adventure books, and they're set against the backdrop of magicians, and we're very proud of them. You can also find us on Facebook and like our page. We have 348 likes at this point. We'd love to get to 500, or at least Facebook keeps telling me, get to 500, get to 500. Thank you, Facebook. Get to 500. Thank you, Facebook. Facebook can be very annoying sometimes. But again, around the world on Podomatic.com, we hit number 4 this week. Thank you for that. We simply cannot break top 1 or 2 thanks to a guy called the Black Guy Who Tips podcast. I have no idea. I don't listen to it. To listen to it would be to give him ratings and stuff. I don't want to do that because it would affect our listings. So I am Jeff Tucker. I am the voice. You are who?
Austin.
I'm Luna.
And together, the three of us are 91 Reasons.